Have you ever stood at a crossroads in your life, frozen with uncertainty? That paralyzing feeling when you know a decision must be made, but the weight of possibility crushes you into inaction? What if I told you that the map you've been searching for has been within you all along? Those coordinates of your true path aren't found in external advice or endless pros and cons lists. They're etched into the very landscape of your being. What decisions are you struggling with right now? Share in the comments. I genuinely want to know what crossroads you're facing. We make thousands of decisions every day, most unconscious, some deliberate. But the big ones, those life-altering choices, they haunt us. And here's why. It's not actually the decision itself that terrifies us, but what it reveals about who we truly are. Whether you're a student choosing a career path, a professional contemplating a major change, or someone questioning a relationship, these moments of choice expose our deepest values and our hidden wounds, the parts of ourselves we've buried, ignored, or never fully understood. Dr. Jordan Peterson suggests something profound about these moments, that our greatest suffering comes not from making the wrong choice, but from refusing to choose at all, from living in that gray space of what if, rather than committing to a path and accepting its consequences. This pattern affects all of us. The question is, what invisible forces are actually making your decisions when you think you're the one in control? Have you ever made a decision that felt right logically but wrong emotionally? What happened? Let me know in the comments. 1. The shadow decision maker. When you can't make a decision, it's rarely about lack of information. It's about something deeper, what Jung called the shadow. Those rejected, unacknowledged parts of yourself that silently influence everything you do. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Think about that for a moment. The very choices you believe you're making freely might actually be directed by the hidden landscapes of your inner map, territories you've never fully explored. Consider this. James, a brilliant medical student, couldn't decide whether to continue in medicine despite his perfect grades and promising future. For months, he tortured himself with pros and cons lists. But the real issue wasn't the career. It was his unacknowledged truth that he'd chosen medicine to please his father, not himself. The decision you think you're making is rarely the real decision at hand. The real question is often, am I finally ready to become who I truly am? But here's where it gets interesting. The anxiety you feel when facing a difficult choice isn't your enemy. It's a compass pointing toward your growth. What decision have you been postponing, and what might that postponement really be about? I'd love to hear your reflections in the comments. 2. The necessity of sacrifice. Every choice is a sacrifice, Peterson often notes. When you choose one path, you simultaneously kill off countless others. This is why decisions hurt. They are tiny deaths of possibility. Imagine standing in a hallway with 1,000 doors. The moment you choose one door, the others don't just remain unopened, they disappear completely. That's the weight of choice. Sarah faced this when deciding whether to move across the country for her dream job. What paralyzed her wasn't the new job itself. It was saying goodbye to the life she would have had if she stayed, the children she might have had with her local boyfriend, the family holidays that would never be the same. The pain you feel when making big decisions isn't weakness, it's awareness. You're conscious of what's being lost, even as you gain something new. What I realized that completely shifted my perspective was this. Refusing to choose doesn't prevent the sacrifice. It just ensures you sacrifice power over which possibilities live and die. If you could make one difficult decision right now with complete confidence, what would it be? Tell me in the comments. Sometimes naming it is the first step. Most people retreat at this moment of recognition. Why? Because acknowledging the true weight of your choices feels almost unbearable. But what if this very discomfort is the doorway to becoming who you were meant to be? What if embracing the pain of decision is precisely what gives life its meaning? Have you ever regretted not making a decision more than a decision you actually made? Share your story in the comments. If what we're exploring resonates with you so far, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more content that helps you navigate life's deepest questions. Your comments help this message reach others who might be standing at their own crossroads right now. Now let's go even deeper into how to actually make decisions when everything is on the line. 3. Articulated values versus lived values. Everything you've been taught about decision-making might be fundamentally flawed. We're told to make lists, weigh options, think rationally. But Peterson points out something crucial. Your actions reveal your true values, not your words. Think of it as two different maps of the same territory. The map you show others and the map you actually follow. When these maps contradict each other, no decision feels right because you're navigating by conflicting coordinates. Watch what you do, not what you say. The decisions you've already made tell the true story of what matters to you. Mark claimed family was his highest value, yet consistently chose 70-hour work weeks for years. When his marriage began failing, he was genuinely shocked. His articulated values, family, and his lived values, career achievement, were in direct conflict. Your body knows this disconnect before your mind does. That knot in your stomach when thinking about a particular choice, it's not random anxiety. It's your deeper wisdom detecting misalignment between what you say matters and what actually does. What I discovered next completely transformed how I make decisions. What decision have you made that later revealed what truly matters to you? Your insight might help someone else find clarity. 4. The biological wisdom of emotion. Your emotions aren't irrational obstacles to good decisions. They're sophisticated evolutionary mechanisms, processing more variables than your conscious mind can handle. That feeling of dread or excitement, millions of years of evolutionary wisdom speaking to you. When Alex was deciding between two job offers, one prestigious but demanding, the other modest but flexible, his logical analysis favored the prestigious option. But every time he imagined accepting it, he felt physically ill. 6 months after taking the flexible job instead, his mother was diagnosed with cancer, and he was able to be there for her final months, something impossible with the demanding position. Your emotions aren't infallible, but they're processing information your rational mind can't access. Future possibilities, subtle patterns, unconscious values. The key isn't suppressing emotions to make rational choices. It's developing a relationship with your emotions where you can hear what they're trying to tell you. But I thought understanding emotions was enough. What I discovered next showed me why that's just the beginning. Have you ever made a decision against your emotional response and regretted it? Or followed your emotions and been grateful? Share your experience below. 5. The hierarchy of values. Peterson speaks often about hierarchies of values. When faced with difficult choices, the problem isn't usually that you have no values, it's that you haven't ranked them. Think of this hierarchy as the legend on your inner map, the key that makes all the symbols meaningful. Without this legend, you can see the landscape but cannot interpret what you're seeing. Imagine your values as instruments in an orchestra. Without a conductor prioritizing which should be loudest at which moment, you get only noise, not music. When Lisa was deciding whether to have children in her late 30s, she valued both her freedom and the experience of motherhood. Her indecision came not from lacking values, but from never clarifying which value ranked higher when they inevitably conflicted. Here's the transformative question. What am I willing to sacrifice for what? Not what do I want? Because we want contradictory things. But what matters most when I can't have everything? The decisions that haunt people decades later aren't the ones where they chose wrongly. They're the ones where they never clarified what truly mattered most to them. What I realized next completely shifted how I view difficult choices. What two values do you find most often in conflict when making big decisions? Your answer might help others recognize their own patterns. 6. Your future self is watching. Peterson suggests a powerful thought experiment. Imagine your future self, years from now, watching you make this decision. What would they want you to choose? This isn't abstract philosophy, it's neurologically sound. When researchers scan brains of people thinking about their future selves, different neural pathways activate than when thinking about their current selves. David couldn't decide whether to start a risky business venture or stay in his secure job. What finally clarified his choice was imagining himself at 80, looking back. From that perspective, the risk of failure seemed far less important than the risk of never trying. Your present anxiety focuses on immediate outcomes, approval, comfort, security, but your future self cares about growth, meaning, and the story of your life. The decision that seems terrifying today might be the very one your future self would thank you for most desperately. And sometimes, this is the part people forget, clarity doesn't arrive with dramatic thunder. It comes in a quiet morning cup of coffee, in the gentle words of a friend who truly sees you, or during those ordinary moments when you're not trying so hard to figure everything out. These are the moments when you finally hear what your inner map has been trying to tell you all along. Most people never make this perspective shift, but those who do find something remarkable. If your 80-year-old self could give you advice about a decision you're facing now, what do you think they would say? Share your insights below. The hardest moment in decision-making comes right before commitment. Everything in you wants to retreat to the safety of indecision. Your mind creates new options, new reasons to wait, new information to gather. This is where most people give up. The uncertainty feels unbearable. You know what's funny? Sometimes we treat decisions like they're these grave, solemn things, as if choosing the wrong restaurant for dinner might somehow alter the universe. There's something almost comically human about how seriously we take ourselves in these moments. But what if this moment of maximum tension is precisely where your new life begins? What if the edge of that uncomfortable cliff is exactly where your inner map has been guiding you all along? Have you ever pushed through this moment of maximum uncertainty? What happened? Your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. 7. The meaning is in the responsibility. The purpose of life is not happiness or comfort, Peterson often says. It's meaning. And meaning comes from taking responsibility for choices, for their consequences, for your own becoming. When you make a decision and fully own it, something profound shifts. The anxiety doesn't disappear. It transforms into purposeful energy. Michael agonized for years about whether to confront his estranged father before it was too late. What finally moved him to action wasn't certainty about the outcome, but accepting that regardless of how his father responded, this was his responsibility to bear, his life to live authentically. The heaviness you feel when facing important choices isn't just fear. It's the weight of becoming real, of stepping out of potentiality into actuality, of accepting that your life is yours to author. What I discovered flipped my understanding upside down. The meaning isn't in making the right choice. The meaning is in making the choice yours, fully embracing whatever path you choose and whatever consequences follow. What responsibility have you been hesitating to fully embrace? What might change if you did? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Here's the profound truth at the center of everything we've explored. Your fear of choosing wrong isn't really about the outcomes. It's about confronting who you truly are. Every significant choice is ultimately a statement. This is who I am. This is why we procrastinate, why we overthink, why we seek endless advice. Not because the choice is difficult, but because becoming fully ourselves is terrifying. The anxiety you feel isn't your enemy to overcome. It's the growing pain of becoming whole. When you listen to it, honor it, and still move forward, you reclaim your life. And here is where the map metaphor becomes most profound. The territories within you that seem in conflict, the ambitious and the nurturing, the adventurous and the stability-seeking, aren't opposing forces to be reconciled. They're dimensions of your complete self, asking to be integrated through the choices you make. The map becomes whole only when all territories are acknowledged. What part of yourself have you been afraid to fully acknowledge in your decisions? If you feel comfortable sharing, your vulnerability might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. So how do we actually navigate life's crossroads with this deeper understanding? First, recognize the decision beneath the decision. Ask yourself, what truth am I avoiding with my indecision? Often, naming this hidden reality instantly clarifies your path. This is like finding the "you are here" marker on your inner map. Second, consult your body, not just your mind. Sit quietly with each option and notice your physical response. The wisdom of your nervous system often precedes conscious understanding. Third, imagine explaining your choice to someone you deeply respect. The justifications that feel hollow will reveal themselves immediately. Fourth, make the decision as if you were advising someone you love. The clarity we have for others often escapes us when thinking about ourselves. Finally, commit not just to a choice, but to fully owning whatever unfolds from it. The peace comes not from certainty about outcomes, but from knowing you'll handle whatever comes with integrity. What's one feeling about a decision that you've been running from? What would happen if you listened to it today instead? If you feel brave enough, share what you discover in the comments. Your courage might be the permission someone else needs. 8. The paradox of certainty. Here's the beautiful paradox that Peterson's work points toward. You will never have enough certainty to feel completely safe in your big decisions. Never. And that's not a flaw in the system. It's the entire point. Life isn't a math problem to solve before taking action. It's more like learning to dance with uncertainty itself. Nietzsche, whom Peterson often references, called this the love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but embracing it as if you had chosen it yourself. The ancient Stoics called it amor fati. Consider Elena, who spent years in analysis paralysis about whether to leave her comfortable corporate career to pursue her passion for teaching. What finally moved her forward wasn't accumulating more certainty, it was accepting that certainty was never coming, and that was okay. The map within you doesn't promise safe passage. It promises authentic passage. It won't eliminate storms, wrong turns, or difficult terrain, but it will ensure you're traveling through a landscape that belongs to you, not someone else's expectations. Sometimes the most profound shift happens with humor, when you finally laugh at the absurdity of demanding guarantees from a life that never offered them. When you realize you've been standing at the edge of the pool, testing the water endlessly, when the joy was always in the dive itself. Have you ever found peace in accepting uncertainty rather than fighting it? What changed for you in that moment? Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. 9. Recalibrating your inner compass. Peterson often speaks about recalibrating your aim when navigating life. Think of your decision-making ability as a compass that occasionally needs realignment with your true north. How do you recalibrate this inner compass? First, recognize decision fatigue as a real neurological phenomenon. Your brain literally depletes glucose when making choices. This is why deciding what to have for breakfast feels impossible during times of major life decisions. You're neurologically exhausted. Second, create sacred space for the big decisions. Our modern lives are filled with constant input, notifications, and noise. Your inner map cannot be read in chaos. Thomas, an accomplished surgeon, made all his major life decisions during solo hiking trips. No phone, no input, just movement and nature. I return to myself there, he explained. The noise falls away, and I can finally hear my own voice again. Third, pay attention to regret asymmetry. Ask yourself, 20 years from now, which choice am I more likely to regret? Action or inaction? Research consistently shows we regret the things we didn't do far more than the things we did, even when they didn't work out perfectly. What part of your inner landscape are you ready to explore more deeply after our journey today? I'm curious, what practices help you reconnect with your inner guidance when you're feeling lost? Share below. Your method might be someone else's missing piece. As we reach the end of our exploration, remember this. The road not taken will always call to you with whispers of what if. This isn't failure. It's the price of having lived a life rich with possibilities. The decisions that shape us most profoundly are rarely the ones where everything was clear. They're the ones where we step forward despite the fog, guided by something deeper than certainty. As Peterson reminds us, you don't get to not make the choice. No choice is still a choice. Your life unfolds regardless of your participation. The only question is whether you'll be its author or merely its witness. The parts of you that once felt like obstacles in decision-making, your fears, your contradictions, your wounds, were actually your greatest teachers. And now, you know how to listen. Remember when we began, and I suggested that the map you've been searching for has been within you all along? That truth becomes evident not through more thinking, but through the courage to act, to make the choice, to take the step, to turn the page. With each decision made consciously, another part of your inner territory becomes known to you. What crossroads are you standing at right now? And what first step will you take after watching this? Your journey matters. Share it below. And if you're still feeling the weight of an unmade decision pressing on your heart, remember, the very discomfort you feel is not a warning to retreat. It's an invitation to unfold the map within and become more fully alive.